is just fantastic. Captain's Log, Subdates 220127.6. Some bastard narked on me to Subfleet, and I had to spend all of last night removing the cosmetic improvements. So that rather annoying order aside, Subfleet did as a cute novelty send me a resin 3D printer, because they know I'm a big fan of arcane novelties. Welcome everyone to the exhibition of stupid people. To start, we're going to go with a video shared via the Libs of TikTok Twitter account. The video in question is 44 seconds long, and I'm going to play it from start to finish before offering a comment or two.
So, I'm not allowed to be out as trans non-binary at school. Do not come up in my comments saying that I am allowed, because I'm not. I live in Louisiana and it sucks here. So, of course, my response to this is to be as obnoxiously queer as possible. So I've got my rainbow hair with leopard print. I've got my rainbow glasses. Sometimes I wear pins too with various rainbow things on them. I don't have any today. I just have my COVID sticker. I wear things that do not match at all. Basically, my goal is to look like a unicorn threw me up. If I can't do that, what's the point? But the best part about all of this is that all of my coworkers are like, oh my gosh, you're so hip and you're so cool and the kids love you. I'm like, no, I'm not hip or cool. I'm just queer as hell and y'all are boring.
So first question, at what point does being trans non-binary have to impact how you dress at school? Or how are you going to be out as trans non-binary at a school? I don't entirely know how you do that. Second, upon being given a dress code, which is what I assume this is about, you've decided because you don't get your own way to, in Louisiana, where this is a bit more contentious, to dress like a unicorn had vomited. To be brutally honest with you, you look like an attention seeker who has a penchant for rainbows. And to be honest, while there is nothing inherently wrong with having your own unique fashion style, all you do is further stand out, which, if people aren't as welcoming to begin with or ready to accept you, is not going to yield a positive outcome for you. You end up living in a more spiteful manner, rather than trying to have people understand, which, as everyone knows, is not something that can be done with a Thanos snap. It takes time and patience. You have to be willing to try, rather than just ram it down people's throats. People, humanity especially, is a very judgy species regardless, so you're always going to be hard-pressed to force an idea, especially when other ideas have been deep-seated and rooted for centuries. But back to the original point, if the school you work at has a dress code, what on earth are you going to be doing to be different in the sense of trans non-binary so you can be you and be accepted for being you? Because honestly, I thought the hair was enough of a challenge. To maintain that is a nightmare, surely. So next, if you're a WWE superstar, one of those professional performers, sports entertainers, and totally not wrestlers, in one of the most over-the-top choreographed, including your personal life, acts on this planet, because Vince likes to micromanage his talent to the point where they have no freedoms. They cannot be themselves away from the camera. Everything they post to social media goes through WWE first. Just in case you haven't noticed yet, no, I'm not overly fond of how WWE operates currently. They've edged more and more towards this, which is where it lost its edge over the years, certainly when it came to things as simple as a promo, or how a match, a contest, a bout was orchestrated. I'll be honest, as long as the person winning has all the big muscles that sends Vince over erection heaven, then I guess it's a win. It's why he has such a boner for Roman Reigns, who has been, let's face it, forced down our throats for the better part of 6 years. Suffering fuckatash indeed. Now, the reason I mention the WWE is because a talent, they said something I find quite amusing on Twitter. Now, this surely would go in This Week at Twitter, but I've got too much for it. And this one's interesting enough that I can put it here and use it as an excuse to rail on the WWE for a moment. But at the same time, I kinda know why they've had to backtrack. Last week, legendary singer Meatloaf passed away. I grew up on Meatloaf, never the biggest fan, but I cannot deny the quality of the content he produced is leagues above much of the content produced by musicians presently. The man knew how to sing, simple as that. With his unfortunate passing, some made jokes. Insert WWE superstar Shotzi. Whoa, I ate meatloaf last night. Rip. Underneath, this tweet has been deleted. Now, the reason the tweet was deleted is because many people commented that this was in poor taste. I mean, there's a point to that, but I generally think if someone's passed, by all means, make your jokes. I remember when Michael Jackson died. Twitter wasn't really a thing back then, but the jokes were everywhere on FaceCuck. And I know you can't really compare the two. They're vastly different performers, entertainers, but no doubt somebody from the WWE did quickly lean on Shotzi so that she put out this statement: "I honestly was not trying to make a joke about Meatloaf's passing. I legitimately made a meatloaf on Thursday while listening to Paradise by the Dashboard Light on repeat, so I was shocked by the coincidence and impulsively posted about it. I took down the post immediately within a few minutes because I quickly realized it was disrespectful and insensitive, when in reality I am a huge fan. How much do you want to bet?" Someone from WWE said,
"We're going to fire you unless you remove it. We did not approve this tweet, harlot."
If any of you is familiar with UK, let's say, page 3 glamour models, or just glamour models in general, you will have undoubtedly heard of Jordan. She more commonly now goes by the name Katie Price, which is her name. She's famous for her large knockers. She's famous for her music. She's got quite the singing voice. She also has the balls to sing, so I can't mock her too much, even if she is completely and utterly tone deaf. Even her former husband couldn't save that one, and Peter Andre really tried. You can tell he tried. She's famous for other things. The mucky mansion is the more notable. Her inability to pay taxes, even though she has made tens of millions. Her poor decisions in relationships too, but they're not what I want to focus on today. She was trending on Twitter, but this time it's for something completely different. You see, there's a restraining order on her, and the restraining order exists because she has been a bit, unkind towards her ex's new partner. This sounds like tabloid gossip, but because there's a restraining order in place, she can't do certain things. Now, there is a leg to stand on when it comes to being scorned. Her ex allegedly had cheated on her with 3 other women, one of which she formerly employed as a nanny. Another was Katie Price's former best friend of 20 years. So understandably, even with a restraining order in place, she might get a little bit aggressive. So on Friday last week, she spent a night in prison because she'd been sending messages to a woman called Michelle Pentecost, who is the current partner of her ex, meaning she breached the restraining order. Why do I mention this all now though? Well, the reason why is because breaching a restraining order in the United Kingdom is serious. Even if you're famous, it's still serious. And as a crime, there is now a risk for her, as if she doesn't have enough problems with her mucky home, her inability to pay her taxes, and her, constant, perpetual plastic surgery, which all, by the way, costs a lot of money even if you are going to other countries to get these rip-roaring successful procedures done. In the United Kingdom, for breaching a restraining order, the prison sentence could be up to 5 years. So if this got escalated, there is a chance Katie Price could get into trouble. Why is this stupid though? Because she won't face any jail time at all. I believe in no nonsense, treat everyone the same. So 5 years in the ISO cube seems pretty apt, don't you think? You can leave your plastic tits at the door though. We don't need you titillating other inmates. So for the next subject, we're going to talk about Dark Side Phil. And I saw this video via Azamane on Cognitive Thoughts Discord server, and I watched the 10-minute video. It is called DSP Does Stupid, the Members Only Rant. I'm going to link it down below along with Azamane's channel and Cogs. After watching this, I have a few things I'd like to say. When it comes to people supporting us on YouTube, as creators, we are bound by what we set as our own rules, our own targets, our own obligations, to honor them so as to not only retain those patrons, but to entice others to join the ranks. For me, I do a weekly VC with certain tier patrons in 2 separate VCs on 2 separate days. I also have movie nights. I also do studio nights. This isn't rocket science. All patrons are referenced under the correct tier in the description, which is updated on a monthly basis. If a patron has early access, which I normally grant to patrons, you may have noticed if you're a patron of mine that videos aren't as early on the public side, and that's because I'm honoring not only when I said I'd give early access, but I'm taking longer to produce content, which is me trying to improve things. Sorry about that. But patrons and Subscribe Star patrons still get early access, as do channel members. By the way, if you want to become one, it's really cheap.
Give me your money.
I kid, awkwardness intensifies. Upon watching all the 10 minutes of Darkside Phil, I couldn't help but notice the plethora of inaccuracies in his own reasons for why he doesn't do exclusive content and why he makes no discernible effort for his members, for those that back him, those that support him, as this is his job. It reeked of, and this is the main word, entitlement. From a guy that you would think would want to do more to get more people on his side by being less of, let's call him a prick, so as to best pad out the coffers, because didn't you go bankrupt once or twice? Microtransactions and you are not best friends. You also made the complaint, and this one's a weird one, that if you made content exclusively for members, the trolls would get it and re-upload it within the hour. So what? If it's your content and it violates TOS, you are well within your right to report it. You are also allowed to reach out to the creator and ask them to remove it. I generally have a rule that anyone can re-upload any of my videos, provided you give me a week first. Unless it's one of the bigger videos, in which case I say, can you give it a month, please? I generally don't mind. I'm not going to report you. Do link back to me though. What truly baffles me about Darkside Phil is that he has been here a long time, and he is still pushing things from this remarkably arrogant stance. A stance he has held for years. He has had it all, lost it all, blamed anyone but himself, jacked off on camera, and still complained when he doesn't get enough money. I've taken his side when he has had things taken away from him, but his response to simply honoring agreements and obligations is astonishing and a very smooth-brained tactic from someone you would have thought would make more of an effort to try and be less troll-worthy had he simply just learnt his lesson from the beginning. Again, it's a 10-minute video and it's been playing the entire time. Please give it a watch and subscribe to Azamane and Cog. So to swerve completely away from Darkside Phil, we're going to go to Detroit, Michigan judge Alexlbnz. Why are we going with an American judge, you ask? Do I need to put on my Judge Moist attire? No. We're going to go with because she's an idiot. Hence the whole point of her being in this video. And the reason why Alexlbnz drew widespread condemnation and media attention, because during an online court hearing, which was captured on a Zoom video, which was then circulated on social media, she decided to berate an elderly cancer patient and to threaten them with prison time over unkempt weeds outside his home. I know, the dreaded dandelion scourge and the nettles, IsoCube's mandatory minimum 25 years. A petition drive to remove her from the court garnered 228,000 signatures on change.org, all because of some overgrowth of grass in an area outside his home, because his priorities are maintaining the garden while trying to keep himself alive. In fact, it is something that was directly referenced, but don't worry, if you'd like some proof of this, I've got the video.
Yes, my name Burhanuddin Chaudhry.
All right. You have a ticket from August 2nd, 2021, 521 Demons for failing to keep the fence, walkway, sidewalk, or alley free of weeds, trees, or other nuisance vegetation. It's a first offense civil infraction. You can plead responsible with an explanation, or not responsible.
Explain what can. I am a cancer patient, very old ma'am, and I am a cancer patient. I was then very weak and
Be ashamed of yourself. If I could give you jail time on this, I would.
In direct response to that, Alexlbnz had put out a statement saying, when someone appears before me and has made a mistake, I expect them to own up to it. I expect nothing less than myself. No ifs and no buts. There is a reason I self-reported my behavior to the Judicial Tenure Commission. I had no legal duty to report myself to the commission, but I did so because, like apologizing to the community, it was the right thing to do. I will continue to hold myself to the standards I set for others. Which means yes, upon realizing her error because of all the signatures and complaints, and for the sake of optics, no doubt, she apologized. So let's move on to the next subject, and we're going to go back to DoorDash, who we've covered, I think, within the last 2 weeks. A video has been going viral on TikTok. This happens to a lot of videos, but the one I want to go with is DoorDash related. In the video, a DoorDash driver is eating some food. Sounds innocuous. Don't DoorDash drivers deliver food, though? Maybe that's the warning sign. The reason the DoorDash driver is eating the food is because the customer gave them a tip, an inadequate tip I might add. The video itself was recorded by the passenger, and it shows the driver sipping on a drink and opening a styrofoam box full of munch, being quoted as saying, "When our customer only tipped $4 for a 30-minute drive, so we ate their order and telling Dash support we ain't get it." Many people who criticized this said that they typically tip in person, in which case the DoorDash driver wouldn't be aware of the tip before accepting the order, with some also pointing out that the reason they don't tip much on the order is because they'd rather give cash in person, with the DoorDash driver themselves responding, "It ain't worth it to drive in all this snow for $4 to a different city. So why did you accept the order in the first place?" So after responding to many more comments criticizing their lack of professionalism, they then countered by saying the customer used a fraud debit card to pay for the order, being quoted as saying, "We told them to order some food with a fake DoorDash account and a fraud debit card, and not even share an extra $10 with me." DoorDash have commented on this, indicating that the policy strictly prohibits taking customer orders, which will lead to an immediate removal from the platform, which happened with a Karen, I believe, from a few weeks ago. But because they don't know the specifics of this case, they can't comment on it any further and will instead investigate to then take appropriate action. So on to the final subject. Let's talk about Adele. Adele has a bit of a reputation. On one hand, she is one of the most successful UK solo artists for a long time, next to Ed Sheeran and perhaps Calvin Harris. There aren't too many that are up at the pinnacle where she is. On the other side though, minus her personal life being dragged through the mud a little, she also has a reputation for being unreliable. Not long ago it was announced that Adele had a Las Vegas residency, and with that, it brought in $50 million in sales from pre-sale for the upcoming weekends with Adele. Tickets cost between $85 and $680, with some then changing hands for up to $30,000. But Adele has recently axed the entire residency just 24 hours before the first gig. Many regard this to be a massive PR disaster, and it's understandable because Adele has a lot of good fans. She really does. However, with her cancelling twice, with the first being in London, the singer has faced a barrage of criticism concerning refunds, because a lot of people can't get them now, or could not because of how close to the show Adele had cancelled, which led to Adele doing some live videos crying and answering this, but not really actually giving any accountability or response to any of the people who have essentially lost thousands of dollars travelling to see Senpai for Senpai to pull out. Now, it is claimed that the reason the Las Vegas residency was cancelled was because it clashed with Vegas set designer Esmeralda Devlin over the plans to stage this event, which, let's face it, so close to the start of a show is unacceptable. You can be a fan as much as you want, but when someone travels thousands of miles and pays thousands of dollars to see you, even with you saying, "Don't worry, when I'm on stage next, I'll have you on stage with me," you're not fixing the immediate problem, and that is the problem to their purses. Some have said perhaps you take some of that $220 million you're estimated to have and refund people from your own pocket. You can lay the blame on other people's feet, but ultimately the buck stops with you, Adele, and you know it. Now, as we are done, I'd love to know what you all think. Please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you on Twitch tonight, have a fantastic day, and thank you all very much for listening. Ta-ta.